Hey guys, it is time for another spooky story. If you have a spooky story of your own that you would like to share, please feel free to comment or send me a DM. Make sure as well to add me on Facebook, same handle, Ottoman Appalachia. Without further ado. Today's story comes from a follower named Jamie. She said that she wanted to share kind of a compilation of experiences that she and her best friend had after she played a Ouija board at her best friend's sleepover when they were in elementary school. So Jamie had a best friend, we're just going to call her Katie for the story, and at Katie's birthday party, they're having a sleepover. They decide to play games like light as a feather, stiff as a board, and then they decide to bust the Ouija board out. Now, a lot of people, my great-grandma included on my mom's side, thought it was just a game for kids, and it's marketed as a game for kids. Katie's family was no different. Katie's mom even participated in them deciding to play this Ouija board. So the school friends, Katie, Jamie, Katie's mom, they're all in a circle and they're playing the board. They're all kind of laughing and giggling. They don't really buy into like the heebie-jeebie side of a Ouija board, right? And they all are just thinking that everybody's kind of moving the planchette around the board themselves and that nothing's actually moving the planchette, that's of a spiritual nature. Nothing of note necessarily happened during them playing this Ouija board other than they got kind of a bizarre phone call on the home phone. Now, do keep in mind that cell phones did exist at this time, but Jamie and her friends are all very young. Some of them don't even have phones, and the ones that do don't have their phones on them. So they would not have had the opportunity, even if they had a cell phone, to like make a prank call or anything. Well, the home phone starts ringing. Katie's mom looks and sees that there's no caller ID. She answers the phone, and as soon as she answers it, the phone call ends. Somebody hung up, and they kind of laugh it off. They're like, oh, that's so weird. That's bizarre. They don't really think too much of it. They don't even know necessarily that it, contributed to them playing the Ouija board. But for years after this single experience with the Ouija board, Katie, Jamie, and both of their families began having paranormal experiences that lasted for years well into adulthood that they attribute directly to the night that they played the Ouija board at the birthday party. Katie, the best friend, for years afterward, no matter what house she and her family moved into, they experienced paranormal activity. It was like something was following them. We're going to just kind of quickly sum up some of the things that she experienced in her homes. Oftentimes they would hear voices. Things would be thrown across the room like poltergeist type of activity. One night when Jamie is over for another sleepover, Katie tells her that sometimes she's woken up to the sound of typing on her keyboard on the computer in her room. So Jamie ends up, it freaks her out, but she goes to sleep. Later that night, she is woken up by the sound of something typing on that keyboard. She looks up, she doesn't see anything or anybody, and then she feels something touch her arm. She gasped. It absolutely terrified her. She just cuddled up closer to her best friend and laid there unable to sleep for the rest of the night. So it's just experiences like this. Some of the activity in Katie's home got so intense that they actually had a paranormal activity like investigation done on the property, and they caught some like creepy EVPs, found out that a previous resident on the property had like passed away and that maybe his spirit remained there. Just things like that, right? So all kinds of spooky happenings for Katie. Let's get into some of Jamie's experiences. Jamie was very deeply emotionally and psychologically impacted. She pretty much was tormented by this paranormal activity that happened after playing the Ouija board that night in her home. She said that just retelling the story to me, it caused, tears to well up in her eyes because she so vividly remembers the terror that she lived in, because of these spirits in her home. She said that in her home after that, she had to have some sort of stimuli, the TV on, the lights on, radio, something to drown out that feeling of constant dread and fear that she lived with. She said that it just felt like something was constantly over her shoulder, watching her, breathing down her neck, and there were a few instances in particular that were traumatizing for her. One night in particular, Jamie is laying in her bed trying to go to sleep, and she has the bedroom door open. Her eyes drift to the open doorway of her bedroom, and when she looks up, she sees this black mass, some sort of like a shadow. It wasn't necessarily a humanoid figure, but it was very opaque. You could see it very clearly, even against the contrast of the darkness and the rest of the room. This thing was darker than that darkness, and it's hovering over the doorway, seemingly looking at her, and it slowly moves into her room and goes into her closet. This absolutely petrified her. She did not sleep for the rest of the night, and this was a common theme. She would have things happen that just made it impossible for her to get a good night's rest. Another day, she's in middle school at this point. She's getting ready for school, and her dog, who never acted like this, suddenly darts down the hallway, and her tail is tucked between her legs. She is whimpering and crying. She runs into Jamie's room and hides under her desk in the corner of the room and refuses to come out. As she heard her dog running down the hallway toward the room, she hears all 3 drawers on her bathroom vanity slam shut, just in symphony, slam shut all at once. Now, Jamie said she had just been in that bathroom looking for her hairbrush, and that is why those drawers were open. The dog clearly saw it, felt it, something. This scared her so bad that she stopped getting ready. She just runs out of the house as is and goes to wait at the bus stop to go to school. Jamie was not the only one to experience some of the activity in the house. She had 2 siblings, 2 brothers, and her brother would also get so scared, especially at night, that sometimes he would sleep in the room with Jamie. So one night they are both sleeping in the same room, and as they're laying in bed, her oldest brother is in the living room asleep on the couch. They both at the same time sit up, bolt up in bed. They look at each other, and Jamie said, "Did you hear that?" And he said, "Yes, it sounded like laughter, like a child's laughter." This sent chills down Jamie's spine because that is exactly what she heard, clear as day. Now, she decides against her better judgment to get out of bed. She, in her rational mind, is trying to think, maybe it was my older brother. Maybe he's not asleep. Maybe he's laying there watching something on his phone, or he's playing TV, like laughing. She goes out there. He seems to be dead asleep, but she's still thinking maybe he was watching something on his phone and like fell asleep. So she's like looking around, like moving the covers, trying to see where his phone is. He doesn't have his phone on him, and she wakes him up even and says, like, was that you laughing? Were you watching something? It wasn't him. He was just upset he had gotten woken up. So that's not explainable. Another day, she and her brother are running around the house, chasing each other and playing a game of tag. This time, it is the older brother and Jamie that have the experience. So they're running around, they're playing tag, both of them in symphony, dead stop. They look at each other. They both have tears welled up in their eyes because they are so terrified. And she says, "Did you just see that?" Without prompting, he explains that as he is running, he turns and he sees a little boy with red hair chasing them, like he's like trying to play tag with them. Jamie said that it made her heart drop to her stomach because she had seen the exact same little boy. They said that he's like chasing them around the house and that he, in a blink, disappears. He's just gone, vanished into thin air. Jamie said that when she had this experience with this little boy chasing them, she immediately connected the laughter, the child's laughter that she and her younger brother had heard a few nights before, to this little boy that they saw in their house. The whole-grained, gluten-free audacity. Did y'all just see her in that last clip? She is wild. For years, they had these terrifying experiences. And after they moved out of that house, Jamie sometimes would find herself driving by this property, wondering if the new owners experienced the things that she had, that her family had growing up there. Years later, her older brother, as a young adult, continued to have experiences. There was one night where now, Tot, you're being rude. You're going to have to stop, honey. was sleeping at his grandparents' house and began having a terrifying sleep paralysis episode where something was just pulling the blankets off of him in bed, like pinning him down to the bed. And after he was finally able to get out of the episode, he tried to explain to his grandparents, and they just kind of laughed it off. But he could not help but be terrified because of how traumatizing their childhood was growing up in that house. So that's the story. If that is not a lesson on why you should not play with a Ouija board, I don't know what is. My mom, growing up, would always tell me a terrifying story about a Ouija board experience that she, my aunt, and their cousin had. And it happened in my great-grandma's house. I'll have to share that with you guys sometime. My great-grandma was one of those people that thought Ouija boards were just a game and thought that spooky things like that were just kind of funny. And she allowed my mom, as a child, to play Ouija board. That house was never the same afterward. And what happened to them while playing the Ouija board is bone-chilling. So I have never firked around and found out, and I hope none of you guys do either. See you later. Bye.